Welcome to Maths with Miss Podlick. So today you're going to be looking more at graphs, and today we're looking at line graphs. Now, I know that you looked a little bit at line graphs a few weeks ago and you've done it in your homework as well. But today we're going to take a really good look at what a line graph is, and you're going to get to draw your own line graph as well. Now, line graphs can be used a lot in real life. So often you'll see a line graph used when they talk about money, so whether money's going up or money's going down. And you might also see a line graph when we talk about temperatures. So for example, today the temperature is 36, and then tomorrow the temperature might be lower or higher. So we can actually do a line graph to show whether the temperature is getting higher or the temperature is going down. So can you make sure you have your Targeting Maths book open to the pages that I talk about, and make sure you press pause when you need to, as well as go back and watch the video again if you need to as well. So here we go. So can you please turn to page 148 in your Targeting Maths books. So on this page we're talking about line graphs, and we have 4 different line graphs that we're looking at today. And what you need to do is you need to match which line graph you think belongs with the statements down the bottom. And these are the statements down here, the questions. So what you're going to do is I'm going to read them to you, and then you need to write down which graph fits best. So you've got 4 at the top, you've got A, B, C, and D. So you need to write down which one you think would work best with the stories. So number 1 says, read these stories, which graph best tells each story. A, we hadn't gone far when we realized we'd left the dog behind. We had to go back and get him. So now what you need to realize is a bit about these graphs. So each of these graphs has distance on one side and time in hours down the bottom. And you need to figure out which graph matches the story. So I just said that we hadn't gone far when we'd left the dog behind. So all of your graphs start at 0 and then they go up. So which graph do you think shows them going back to the very start, going back to 0? So once you think you know, write the letter of the graph down. It's either A, B, C, or D, and press pause until you are ready. All right, number 1B says, we were slow sometimes, especially when we were stuck behind big trucks. But Dad worked out that our average speed was 80 kilometers an hour. So graph B should be a graph that changes the speed and distance all the time. So which graph do you think changes the most? Which means the line isn't straight all the time. It has bends in it. So pick which one you think is correct and press pause until you're ready. C says, we wanted to get there quickly, so Dad drove straight through at a steady speed. So this graph will be the straightest graph. And the last one's the easiest because it's the only one that's left. It says, Dad and Joe shared the driving. We had to go more slowly when Joe drove after lunch, as she is only a new driver. So can you please put down which one you think is correct? And then once you've done that, can you please write a title for each graph using the scenarios that we've just talked about down here. So each graph needs to have a very short name that tells us what it's actually showing us. All right, for our last page for today, we're on page 150. So on this page, you get to draw your own line graph, which is actually really easy as long as you're using a ruler. So at the top it says, on Saturday, Dan recorded the temperature every hour from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So you've got all of these times and all of these temperatures here. So we're going to use them to draw our graph, and it's a line graph, not a bar graph like we did yesterday. So make sure that when you draw this, you're using straight lines and a ruler. So it says, draw a line graph to show this information. Be accurate. So on this side, we have the temperatures, and down the bottom, we have the times, which are all found in the table at the top. So I'm going to do the first one for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So the first time is 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. is down the bottom, and the temperature was 17 degrees. So where it says 10, we need to go up, and we need to find where 17 would be, and 17 is about there where the red dot is. So that's our first one. Now we don't draw the line down to 0 because we didn't start at 0 for this. It wasn't 0 degrees at 9 a.m. Our next temperature was at 11 o'clock, and it was 18 degrees. So we need to find 11. and draw a dot at 18 degrees. So then we need to connect the dots. So we need to draw a line between the two. I'll do one more and then I'm going to let you go and do the rest. So at noon, it was 20 degrees. So we find noon and draw a dot. Then we need to connect the dots again with our ruler. So you can see that you're going to end up with a line like a snake going across the grid. So once you've finished putting in all of the information up here, you then need to go on with the rest of the page, and it asks you to write a title for the graph. The title goes here. You then need to label both axes where they have the space for you to do so. And then you need to tell me what the difference between the highest and the lowest temperature are. Now, to find the difference, remember that you are taking the largest number away, you're taking the smallest number away from the biggest number. So you need to find out which temperature up here is the biggest and which one is the smallest. And then you need to tell me what the difference is. Once you've finished doing this page, you need to have a teacher check your work before going on with the other items on Showbie.